Starting out with the spinning wheel. What is going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a fantastic time. The state of the franchise is back. The Jason. How are we doing, Jason, on this beautiful Friday?
It really is a beautiful Friday in terms of weather, especially here on the East Coast. Yesterday, 80 degrees. Today, 70. It's like global warming is definitely real. But I'm more excited to see you. I'm glad you're back on vacation. And, just to let you know, and in case, while you were on vacation, you weren't looking at Twitter, which is exactly what you should be doing. You
Right.
didn't miss anything because nothing happened around here while you were
Nothing
gone. And I
happened,
don't know
right?
if you can I don't know if you can pick up on sarcasm, guys, but that's a lot of sarcasm. And we have a lot to catch up on, especially for how long Brad was gone.
Absolutely. I enjoyed my time away. It felt like the perfect week to take a step away from 49ers Twitter, from the social media talk and everything, because as we know, it's been a storm, a flurry, if you will, since I decided to take off, as we know, and we haven't talked about it, so we'll touch on it from the start and we'll transition into what's been happening today because it's been an ongoing saga, if you will. It all started with Deebo Samuel unfollowing the San Francisco 49ers, scrubbing posts, taking posts down. What now that we've had some time to kind of marinate and clearly see where things have gone, what is your overall feeling, starting with that initial kind of scrubbing of the 49ers amidst contract negotiations?
For me, that really didn't move the needle one way or the other for me or put me in any sort of panic. I think what people have a bigger issue with is not the action itself and whatever you deem it to be as childish or whatever it is, but more that you need to acclimate yourself to this is how contract negotiations go during the social media era. And his representatives know that, he knows that, and what he did when he did that is exactly what's going on now. The conversation has been nothing about Deebo Samuel. There's two other guys that are up for contracts from the same draft class, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown. No one's talking about them in any way, right? And they're all
Mhm.
represented by the same agent. That's something else that you need to keep in mind. All three
Yep.
of them are represented by the same guy. But the conversation is about Deebo Samuel. And when you do that, you have to understand that it's less about trying to be childish or petty and more this is the new way that contracts are going to be negotiated during the social media era, and agents know that and players know how to manipulate it and use it to push whatever leverage they have towards themselves with just a single archiving of a few photos. I just think that it's the way things are going.
Absolutely. Players know that they can control their narratives with social media. Like it's progressing and evolving year in and year out, and it's continuing to move in that direction. Again, it started this season with Kyler Murray doing the same exact thing, scrubbing everything off his page, sending national writers, reporters into a tizzy about like, what does this mean? And then people start digging into the situation and you start pulling out how he took himself out of the playoff game and the fourth quarter, and it's just like there's doesn't seem to be a real positive perception that follows when players tend to scrub their team from their Instagrams and their social media accounts. But it is crystal clear that has an impact, and it gets people talking and it gets the needle moving. Again, we had to go on the opposite direction, even with Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey just posted his first workout video. He posted how much he's weighing in at 310 pounds after we saw 49ers Twitter getting a little tizzy about him looking thin in a photo that was posted. So you're seeing more and more how these players are taking to social media and really being able to drive home the narratives that they want to drive. And the way I'm interpreting Deebo Samuel's situation with the 49ers is he's not liking the way it's going at all. And if there's anything that we've looked at in regards to, past contract negotiations, Fred Warner, George Kittle, you name it, goes all the way back to Frank Gore. They don't move quickly. They intentionally take their time and they start at the furthest possible point and they work their way closer to the middle. What's interesting to me about the situation is I know Deebo Samuel knows that. And I don't think he wants to play that game. And so it's very interesting how he did this specifically in regards to timing before the draft. Do you think him scrubbing and doing all that is not necessarily a message to the 49ers? Because let's face it, they communicate all the time. The agents are going to communicate, hey, we're not seeing eye to eye. You don't need to bring that to the public to me, I see it more as a signal to other teams like, oh, maybe this isn't going as we had hoped. Maybe that guy's available, because we know the New York Jets, they try to trade for Tyreek Hill. They try to trade for a bunch of wide receivers. So to me, I kind of see that as a signal of like, well, if the 49ers aren't going to give me what I want, maybe if I do this, maybe another team's going to enter the mix and say, well, if you're not going to give him that contract, we will. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that's the negotiation portion of it. You may view it as dirty, and other guys wouldn't go that way, but that's what their team decided to do. And once you find out that Deebo Samuel's available, it gets some speculation about trades up, and it pushes the pressure over to the 49ers when you find out that 31 other teams have been trying to find Deebo Samuel in every single draft, and now there's a
And
chance
now he's
that
scrubbing the
Deebo Samuel.
49ers from the page.
And again, it's just like the guy who's been watching that girl that he has a crush on that's in a relationship with her boyfriend, and all those pictures go away, and you just send that quick DM like, "Are you okay? I'm here to talk." The same thing with these teams, and they're just trying to figure things out and things like that. One other thing I wanted to touch on that I felt like you were absolutely dead on about was the social media portion of like how things are going. And I would like to point that Odell Beckham didn't directly ask the Cleveland Browns for a trade. How did he get that done? His father posted film on social media, and this is the way things are moving. So again, it's more about that situation and how right now this is how it's going to go from here on out. So this whole like Beckham, Marjorie, guys never had these options to do this or anything like that. So keep the old man take and figure out that right now things are moving in this direction, and you need to get on board. Either you're not liking it, which a lot of people are, or you're just going to figure out that this is the way things happen, and this is the way it's going to happen. As long as you're dealing with this age, the age of these athletes. I mean, Debo's 26, but there's 21-year-olds who 22-year-olds who they may be up for contracts in like maybe 2 years that are going to be using this. So it's just how things are now at this point. So either you're with it or you're just going to get passed by.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see the way it plays out. I will personally feel much more comfortable about the entire situation if we make it through the draft and there's nothing happens clearly, because I kind of interpret it in the sense of if Deebo Samuel's going to get traded, he would have to get traded before the draft, because you're not trading a plethora. You're not trading the best offensive weapon in the NFL for 2023 picks and go through an
100%.
entire season without
100%.
Deebo Samuel, and you have nothing else to show for it. So I'm waiting. I'm hopeful. Again, kind of my understanding of the way the 49ers negotiate, I know it's part of their tactic to really stretch it and also start on the complete opposite end of where they want to be. So we're going to be finding out what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I kind of have the draft as like the unofficial deadline for a potential trade.
Yeah, Brad's 100% on that one. If nothing happens in the draft, then you're good on that. And I don't think anything is going to happen either. I've been firmly not worried about this because I know the 49ers are going to get this done. They'll get it done on their time. What you want to point to, and what Brad alluded to with the George Kittle situation, and his agent came out and said this freely, that the first offer, he described it as the St. Valentine's Day massacre. That's not a good starting point. And
it was bad.
There was whispers about the 49ers, exhausted some options in terms of a trade and looked into those things. Sounds kind of similar right now, right? Like, so again, This is one part of the process. Obviously, I am not going to dismiss that that he's not happy. I mean, Deebo's clearly unhappy with the first offer, which is why he did all of this. That still doesn't mean that this deal won't get done. So while I am recognizing that we're not brushing this off as, well, it's just a game or whatever, or he's trolling. He's definitely not trolling. He's definitely upset. But we've seen negotiations go like this. And I want to point to when people talk about timing of deals being done, it's always closer to camp for players under contract. Do you know why? You are not competing with anyone else in terms of that player being available, right? The Trent Williams and Fred Warner, George Kittle, and now this negotiation, they are not the same thing at all. Trent Williams was moments from being signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. Right. And Kyle Shanahan made a call and said, no, not on my watch. I don't care. You're going to put up, So again, teams competing, you have to sign guys earlier, guys under contract. Yes, the precedent has been set that it'll be closer to camp. So that's the part that you guys need to distinguish, because it's not apples to apples in that way.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. And I think that's a great point about he's not a free agent. He still has one more year on his contract. Now I think we would both agree he has completely outperformed the deal that he is on. I think he's slated to make around like 4.4, something in that range next year. It's crystal clear that Deebo has blown through that price tag, and it would be a disservice to not only him but the rest of the wide receivers in the NFL to play on that particular contract. So I think you make a good point. There's not really a ton of leverage on your end when you're under contract. So the scrubbing before the draft, it's kind of like I feel like the prime opportunity to gain that leverage again, because if some other teams come in and they're willing to pay however much he wants, that's when it's going to happen. So, but until then, it is this leverage game, and it's a timing situation. And again, if he's making it, if he gets, I doubt he actually shows up and goes into OTAs or actually practices at mandatory minicamp if with no new deal. We were talking about this on a live stream, I think earlier this week, and someone had mentioned that you brought up a point that, and I don't know about this, so maybe you can clue us in a little bit further. But the CBA has new rules
Yes.
about holding out into
Yes.
training camp that might make it harder for Deebo to do so. So if you have any more information, I would love to hear that.
Yeah, so the CBA, when it was redone, a lot of the things that the players fought hard for the marijuana things to be thrown out, right? And that's something that they were steadfast in. But also what was thrown in there by the owners was a little give and take. And it was that when you skip, now they have something in there where teams can't alleviate that. So it's not like you're just going to sit there. If you're ready to get fined, the team doesn't have to do anything in any way, right? It used to be that if you held out, okay, you would get fined, but it's like a paper fine, because if you sign the deal a little while, we'll just, we'll wipe the slate clean. There's something new in the CBA that doesn't allow that to happen anymore with teams. So the teams would like have to physically like put it on the put the money up to do that, right? Like, so let's say if they wanted to alleviate that for Deebo Samuel, I believe they have to pay all of it as opposed to just waiving it, how it used to be. And that is to discourage holdouts. That was the entire point. Right. Of adding that to the CBA. So that's what I was getting at a little bit more. How that works, with the nuances and other things, that's something I need to do a little bit more research on. But that was definitely put in there to discourage holdouts going forward. It's up to the player if they really want to risk that money, because it may cost the team or you one way or another.
Absolutely. I want to shout out Akash because he had kind of put the information together about showing the highest guaranteed money that the 49ers have dished out. And when you look at it, I think the highest that they've given out is, I think it was around 48 million to Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Trent Williams got around 40, Kittle got around 40 million guaranteed. And there's a lot of reports, and you look at the tea leaves, you look at what the Tyreek Hills, the Stephon Diggs, all these other guys that have got contract extensions, they're at the 60 million guaranteed or above threshold. Is that going to be a problem for the San Francisco 49ers, Deebo Samuel, in the negotiating? Because it seemingly feels like the wide receiver market has exploded beyond what anyone could have anticipated, and probably more than the 49ers wanted to pay to begin with, even in the realm. Is that going to become an issue if Deebo comes in and says, I don't want a cent less than $60 million guaranteed?
See, I don't believe it is, because the thing is when you see those numbers pop up, not contextualized within the contract details of how much is a guarantee, how much is a little bit of incentive base, how much is it that you have to be on the field, those numbers are completely different. When you break it down to actual signing bonuses, which is upfront money guaranteed, Devontae Adams, for some reason, only made $22 million upfront. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I thought he's the best in the game. That's an upfront $22 million. All the rest of those things are to be roster bonuses, things like that, and he can eventually get up to that amount of money. So when you hear 70 million guaranteed, you hear it like they're getting 70 million up front. No, they'll get that over 3 years. And I think that's what the problem is. And yeah, and when people are saying, well, he got this amount guaranteed, he's going to want this amount, that's fine. And that's what the market is. You know, one guy signs the deal, the next guy breaks it, the next guy breaks it. And it's been like that, for the entire time during the salary cap.
That way too.
Right, exactly. But if the 49ers can reduce the cap hit, it's less about the guaranteed money, less about what you're putting on the books. If the cap hit is low early on, and you're giving the upfront money, then the cap hit changes and the money changes. Then that's something that you can see teams doing. And so many of these contracts that other players have signed have outs after the second and third and fourth year for the team. It's basically an option between them. Hey, 2 years, you'll get all this money. We'll reevaluate in the third year. If you need a raise, you need a raise. If not, then we'll work that way. So that's the way contracts are signed. So when people throw out raw numbers and they're like, well, this guy just got this, and I mean, yes, they have a great chance at getting that, and they probably will over time, but it's not like they're getting it all up front. And that's the part that that's why I can't get into salary cap. I can't get into contracts. All of these things are so weird in terms of terms, agreements, incentives, and the way money's allocated, like turning money into a signing bonus, like that sort of thing, and injury updates, and I mean injury guarantees, like that. Like everybody looked at Derek Carr's contract and were like, what the hell are these guys doing? No, it's like only like 1 or 2 years that they're on the hook, like for everything. The only person who gets straight guaranteed money all the time is Kirk Cousins. He's a damn pioneer. He's a damn
Deshaun
pioneer.
Watson now, the new pioneer.
Now Watson, right? That's why everybody's looking at Watson. I'm like, bro, Kirk Ben got the bag. Or Kirk just got to show up and open his eyes every day, and he's getting paid like that.
What do you get? Like 90 million guaranteed coming from Washington to the Vikings
2 times? Yeah. So
the hell,
I think his entire career he has not taken nothing less than a guaranteed dollar because of the franchise tags. Incredible, man.
Congrats.
Y'all talk about Deshaun Watson, and Kirk's somewhere in thong flip flops, counting his money, eating chicken.
He's out in the Caymans, just like living his best life right now. The Mai Tai in his hand, like, God, my goodness, that dude's set for generations. Like, my goodness. But good for him. But back to kind of the Deebo Samuel situation, and you make a ton of really, really good, strong points about the breaking down of contracts, because when we look at the way the 49ers do contracts, it's essentially like these big 5-year contracts. They're essentially 2 to 3 year contracts with player options built in after that. Now, it looks great when you announce the whole thing, but in reality, as you pointed out, they're really 2 to 3 year deals with options attached. They can either be picked up or extended or renegotiated. It's the loopholes of the whole contract game, right? Parag working the calculator, doing all his numbers and pumping it in, doing all that good stuff. So it's going to be really interesting to see. What do you think the average is? I have James Vegas saying if Deebo gets 25 million a year, then I'm sending Brad 100 bones. I'd love to see that now. I would love to see Deebo get 25 million a year. Do you think? What do you think about the average? Do you think that is about right? 25 million. Again, you just got done talking about how there's a lot more that goes into it than just that. But if we had to distill it down to just that number, what do you think the average looks like when it's all said and done?
I think it's going to range from 22.5 to 25. I think that's the sweet spot right there. And again, right, like me and my wife we're house hunting, right? And here's negotiations. You put in an offer, right? Because they have a number. You put in an offer. They say, well, what about this amount? And then you say half that amount. That's like low-term negotiating when we're talking about, but it's the same still idea. It's still the same idea when you're talking about this. So again, I have a number, right? So when you look, all right, so let's break it down to people who interview for jobs, regular people like us, right? You're in there with a job. They ask you what your desired salary is. Do you say what you really want, or do you say what's higher than what you want?
Always go higher.
Right, because one, if they immediately take that, then boom, that's a dub. And if not, and you meet in the middle, you're still making more than you actually wanted, right? Like, and that's just good negotiating. Again, all of this stuff is the early point of it, but the same way, it's not as far-fetched as you guys think. The same way that you guys negotiate with your employer about how much money, it's the same thing that's kind of going on, just at higher stakes and for much more money.
Absolutely. If you had to put a percentage chance on Deebo Samuel getting signed, give me a percentage.
90.
I agree. I think it's going to happen. Now, of course, there is red flags kind of all over the place, but it feels a lot harder to get that boy traded than to actually get him signed to a deal. We just understand. I think we both agree it's a timing issue right now. He wants it now. He wants to get paid now because strike while the iron's hot, right? He sees all those guys get in those deals. He wants to get paid now. He doesn't want to wait. So do you have any last thoughts on kind of the scrubbing and the kind of contractual side of it? before we get into today's Deebo Samuel saga?
What I want to say is completely getting overlooked, and I think it was already alluded to on the Joe Budden podcast, and it blew my mind. Deebo Samuel is signed to QC. QC is Migos. I think they found Yachty and Little
I didn't
Baby.
know that.
Yeah,
Oh, he
Little
was with the
Baby.
squad.
Yeah,
That makes
Little
sense.
Baby put out a record, and it almost felt like he was speaking for Deebo in terms of it. Sign the check, this amount. I've been grinding. I'm grinding harder, and it's just funny.
Okay.
Again.
Hey, they're like this too.
Yes, again.
They're homies.
Deebo Samuel, Little Baby, top of the game. Just listen. And I thought that was really cool, honestly, because again, negotiations are further and further away from just closed boardrooms where you guys have no idea what's going on. This thing is going to play itself out very much in public with certain players. Deebo is going to happen to be one of them, and this is what's going to happen. With the George Kittle stuff, a lot of that stuff was whispered, and nobody could ever really corroborate or like.
They did a really good job of keeping everything behind closed doors.
At least in that negotiation. Well, guess what? Buckle up. This one may not be the same exact way. So that's again, it's just, and it's no slight of Deebo. Deebo's not doing anything wrong. Just so you know,
he's trying to get paid.
I am pro player. Go get your money, bro. Go get every single dollar. This game don't love you back. Trust me. There are legends who played this game that had to sue the NFL for help later on. Make every single dollar that you can, bro. Don't ever let anybody tell you different.
Especially the way the popularity of the NFL, these deals, that the TV deals that are being cut, the merch sales that they're bringing in, like PSL, everything. Get your money. Get your max value. If the market dictates that, then don't take less, because also, right, part of the situation is if Deebo takes less, he's actually hurting guys like A.J. Brown. He's hurting guys like DK Metcalf. He's hurting guys like Terry McLaurin. So it's not just for him, and that you could say the same exact thing for George Kittle. George Kittle had to get $15 million a year to reset the tight end market, and if he didn't, it would have been a trickle down effect, because we saw right after George Kittle signed, Travis Kelce got signed to an extension that was about either that much more or that much less, give or take a couple $100,000 right after he got done. So it's not only for him, it's for everyone who comes behind him, right? There's a lot of weight into this contract negotiation.
That's why the Players Association is so involved, and they care about these certain things. And that's why there's the guaranteed deal with Deshaun Watson has owners upset, because it doesn't want to set it's setting a precedent for untouchable guys and guys that are elite on the field and what they can offer. So again, look, man, like I said, Brad pointed out how much money this league makes. Even during a pandemic, the NFL pushed through, and
they still made money.
They didn't lose money. They just made less money. They didn't lose
exactly.
any
That's
money.
The point. That's the key point.
They didn't lose money. The NFL is not poor in any way. Yeah, they turned a profit. They just didn't turn the biggest profit. And now everything seems to be getting back to normal with people just being in the stands, Amazon deals, everything. And every year the cap is going up. So again, the players are the reason that this league is so successful. Nobody watches for coaches, who's the owner, any of that stuff. The players on the field are the ones who deserve to get paid, and they're the ones, unfortunately, in American sports that get paid the least in terms of the sacrifice of their body. And that's the reason that I'm always with every single pro player getting every single dollar that they can while they can play this game.
Absolutely. And I think this is where we're kind of transitioning into kind of what's going on today with Deebo Samuel. Fans, there's so many different types of fans, right? You have your Sunday warriors who tune in, just every Sunday. They don't really follow the updates throughout the week. They don't follow the news. They're just there to root on their team. Then you have the fans that are a little bit more intense, where they do follow the updates and they're following our accounts and they're ingesting our content. But you also have the ones that are still riding the coattails from the 80s and the early 90s, where they're just, hey, well, I'm a 49er fan, and if you go against my team and my logo, even if you are a player, screw you. I'm going to send you a death threat. I'm going to like talk so bad about you just because I'm upset that my logo isn't being treated as number one, and the player somehow becomes underneath the overall logo and what it represents. And I think, you touched on it a second ago. We're player advocates, man. We want to see these players be successful further than just on the field. We want to see them get their money. We want to see them respected and get the respect that they deserve because they are human beings. So, talk to me a little bit about what you saw today from Deebo Samuel. Again, if you missed it, he came out and said that fans are sending him death threats, giving him racist comments. And these are from likely 49ers fans. And we know this fan base has a long track record of sending death threats and of saying the most outlandish things to their own team's players. What is your overall thought on kind of the Deebo Samuel situation that happened today?
Firstly, I want to say before I say anything, I'm not speaking to anybody who watches our shows that is on Brad's channel, that are on my channel. Anybody that's watching right now, I am not speaking to you because I consider our viewers and our fan base to be the smartest in terms of football knowledge, but also smart in just
Just
life.
emotional intelligence.
Yes, that's it, just life. But I'm ashamed today to be a 49ers fan. I don't know who's doing it. I completely 100% believe Deebo Samuel. This game that I get passionate about, I know you guys love Spicy Aponte, and yes, that like I am passionate about it. It doesn't affect my overall mood, and it doesn't change the way that you should be speaking to another human being, regardless of stature or status in the game. I'm ashamed to be a 49ers fan today. I 100% condemn anyone who takes this too far. Aside from when the game is over, you have your little, angry session of getting it out, things like that, and that's it. You don't take it out on anyone else. You don't talk directly to the player. That is absolutely abhorrent behavior, and I condemn anyone who ever does anything like that. It is not that serious. Please go outside and breathe some air and
Go touch some grass.
evaluate your life. Evaluate your own life. These people that sent these messages to Deebo Samuel are very angry, mean, and bad people overall. So again, they have a lot of things going on in their life, and unfortunately, it comes out in this way. So
Yeah.
to know that Deebo Samuel, while he's doing everything to protect his family, is having this happen and is taking it, and this is the part that you guys will never understand, like in terms of people saying exactly whatever it is that they want behind a photoless account, and you just like, it's just disgusting behavior, but it's because those people hate their lives. So Deebo, we got you, bro, but I'm very ashamed to be a 49er fan today. And again, I'm not speaking to anybody who is watching the show because I think highly of you guys, and I know that none of you guys would have done anything like that.
No, we know if they're riding with us, whether it's the Spicy Squad or the SDS, we hold our groups to a very certain standard, and we don't take kindly to that. So we understand that that's likely not our group, but Eric says it perfectly, succinctly, very eloquently. It's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. And it's not only just this Deebo Samuel situation. It was when Raheem Mostert got hurt after the second carry of this year, and you had fans going after not only him but his wife, giving them death threats, just trashing him because he got hurt, something that he cannot control. Players do not go out onto the field and say, I'm going to get hurt today. That's the last thing on their mind. Everything that they do in the offseason and preparation for the season is to not get hurt. It's football. It's 100% guarantee injury. Even if you make it through the entire season, you're not 100% healthy. You're dealing with some type of nagging injuries. Now, injuries are going to be different in every range, depending on you break something, you tear something, or you just get nicked really bad. But we've seen it across the board. You can go back to Brian Allen when he came in against the Dolphins. We got told to go back to Greg Maben. You see all the storm that's come at Mike McGlinchey. This fan base has a track record of just, and it's I don't want to say this fan base too, because like you kind of alluded to, it's like this small majority of people that shout the loudest, and those
Right.
are normally the trolls, the people who are looking for attention and want this kind of hype surrounding this kind of stuff and create this discourse. And it's just really unfortunate, and it's something that I've had to deal with since 2017, since I started running my page on Instagram. Obviously, we've evolved into many more platforms, but it's still on every platform. It doesn't change. And it seemingly, it's the trolls that speak the loudest and take over your comments the most, because at the end of the day, it just feels like they want attention, right? They just want their I don't know, 30 seconds of, discourse or whatever it is.
Or getting quote tweeted by that person and
Yeah.
getting them upset. That's the thing. It's like we are on such a smaller scale. But the things people say to me on Twitter, man, like I give myself props all the time because I can go off on every single person, right? Like I can, and I know you guys love when I do that or whatever, but it's taken a lot to learn that, the whole idea behind people saying stuff about you online is to get you to react. And there's no better revenge than never giving any of that air. Some days is way harder than it is others. I'll tell you that. And you guys see me snap sometimes, and sometimes I'm not proud of myself in those moments. But again, never should ever get to this portion. And what Brad is saying is right. This small portion of people do not represent the actual fan base in any way. But this small portion of the fan base is a portion of the fan base that I could have never imagined would exist, especially when you're considering this is just football, even though many people make their lives on it in terms of playing and covering it and have fun discussing it. And we all get passionate. But realistically, guys, there's nothing that is this important. There's nothing that is not this serious. I promise you, man. Like, and the same thing too, to point to other things. Kyle Williams, how many times he got death threats? It's a game. I understand, guys. It's the NFC Championship, and you're upset. It's a game. It is a game. It's a game. Kwaski, he drops the interception. People are still talking crazy about. Calm down, guys. It's a game. It's over. It's done with. That's it. You know when I flushed that NFC Championship out of my system? When I left the building. You know why? Because at the end of the day, whether the 49ers win or lose, I got to pay my bills. I got to take care of my daughter, and life goes on. Always, man. Please. We're passionate. You like that we are passionate. I love that you're passionate. But at the same time, draw some limits. Please draw some limits, because if this is affecting your mood and the way that you interact with people to this degree, then you have some reevaluation that needs to happen. That's it.
And you're 100% right. It becomes more about you than it becomes about the actual situation at hand, right? It becomes more about your internal issues, maybe things that you've gone through in your life, and you need an outlet to, I don't know, take someone else down to make you feel better about yourself. Again, the people that are doing these things, they don't represent the majority of the fan base. However, because there is a large, subsection of these types of fans, it tends to kind of overwhelm the loyalty of fans who don't comment on everything, who aren't going and just spreading positivity on every single thing they see, because that's how they just fundamentally believe and feel to begin with, and don't necessarily have to do that all the time. So it's been a very interesting situation. But at the end of the day, like, regardless if Deebo Samuel is on this team or not, I know people are going to be upset clearly if he's not, but that's a internal situation. That's a situation on the business side of football. That's between management and an asset, a player, a guy who is trying to get paid, and the team on the other hand. This is business, man. You got to take your emotions out of it at a certain point, but that's the problem, right? Is fanatic, you go through that whole situation, people just get in their feels a little bit and then lash out. Well, we can get in our feels. We can be upset that, like, oh, this contract negotiation isn't going like we want it, and we have to talk about this drama, and that's upsetting. But to make it personal and take that energy and throw it into someone else to throw them off, again, that says more about you than it says about the situation. So hope, and we know people are going to kind of move above this, but right now it does feel a little hurtful to be like, and I know I post on my Instagram page, I have all these other fan pages like, see, this is why you don't deserve Deebo. Trade Deebo. Get him out of here. You guys are the worst fan base, the 40 whiners. It's like, yeah, no crap. We're called the 40 whiners because there is a subsection of this fan base where that's the only thing they do is they just whine about everything.
Unfortunately, today we're lumped in with them. That's it. And yeah, just be better. Be better humans, please. And I'm not talking to anybody watching. I guess I'm talking to the people that don't know us or anything like that. And I don't know who needs to hear this. I guess I should have said, but just please be better. Just please, come on.
Yeah, that's it. Shout out Cash the God. We see you, my boy. Appreciate the super chat. Let me get through some of these ones really quickly. Oh, is
Hey,
that
let's go, Luis.
okay?
Let's
Shout out
go.
Luis. True wisdom, my guys. Let's chill, people. And that's exactly it. We just want to keep the vibes level. Like we can get up, we can get high, we can get low, but at the end of the day, we come back to reality, thought processes.
This was supposed to be the quiet off season, Brad,
Yeah,
because
I know.
everything
We're
was
supposed to be like, oh, it's Trey Lance season. We don't have any
oh,
quarterback controversy.
oh, we're good. We're turning the page. We're just gonna go in the draft. Nope.
Damn it, Jason. Damn it. James Vegas says, shout out the homie dropping a dub on the super chat. Really appreciate you, man. He says, love this channel, Brad, at what he brings every time. And that is the main reason I keep coming back for every live. On a side note, I need to leave to pick up dinner. See y'all soon. Shout out, James.
Go,
Appreciate
James.
you,
Shout
homie.
out to you and get that dinner.
Get that dinner. Get some food.
Get some food.
Cap says, on a more temporary positive note, how about that Kittle Lance exchange on IG? Did you happen to see that? What did you think about that?
I did. And you know what? I can relate to George Kittle. George Kittle is me. George Kittle's me. And Trey Lance is Brad. Listen to me.
Yeah.
When I tell you,
oh my God, I love that.
I don't get ghosted. I do the ghosting. Me. No.
No, that's
Brad Graham takes that and flips it. You don't ghost Brad Graham. Brad Graham ghosts you. That man will be posting and tweeting, and I'll be like, this is the perfect time to talk to Brad because he has his phone in his hand. Nope.
Oh, God. Nope.
This man will literally look, and then 33 seconds later, I'll go to the timeline, and there'll be a tweet there, and I'll be like, wow, man, you don't big time me. I big time you. That's not how this works. What the hell? I am George Kittle, and Brad is Trey Lance. It's just and
I'm like a Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo clone.
Right? Yeah. Like I'll send a text and ask something about film, and he'll be like, no, and then that's it. Like, won't even get back to me either. Won't even be like
the sourdough ghost.
Right. Won't even give me like, you know how like when you guys are playing games and you're like talking like you and a girl and you like don't text it back and you be like, my bad, I fell asleep, but you're lying. That's exactly. He doesn't even give me that. He doesn't give me that. Oh my God, I knocked out last night. You with your phone in your hand at like 7:30? Liar.
Oh my God, so good. I deserve it all too. I take.
This isn't anything that I haven't.
I'm terrible at texting people back. I'm terrible at answering phone calls.
Yes.
I apologize. I'm just. It's not my best.
But you know what though? Usually, if someone did that to me, I would do it back. But as soon as Brad texts me, I text him right back because
Jason always texts me back. I love my guy.
This is the only time that you get a chance to talk with him, so you can't let him go. Like if he texts you now, then it means he's there in the message, and you gotta text him, bro. Like help me, guys. You need to bully Brad into answering me more, man.
Oh my God, it's so good. I love it. So. And you're not lying at all. This guy's spitting facts. I'm terrible. I'm awful. I admit it. I take full responsibility. I deserve it all. I'm not good at responding to people, but I'm trying to get better, guys. I'm trying.
And other people ask me, like, yo, what's up with Brad? I'm just like, hey, you know what? I feel good that it's not yeah. I'll get a text like, yo, I text this man
like,
3
hey,
times.
It's par for the course. It's just par for the course.
I was like, hey, man, that's Brad, bro. You just got to kind of eat that.
I apologize, Jason. I apologize. No ill will meant. No ill will meant.
And this is nothing that I have never told. I've told Brad this to his face. Anytime I see him, like when we go out there, I'm like, Brad,
big time Brad.
I'm like, I give Brad a big hug because I miss him so much, and then I start like getting into him about that because I can't have it, man. Come on, Brad. Talk to him, man.
I got you guys. I'm working on it. Oh, but my goodness. What did you think about this particular situation? It was a nice little break from the Deebo drama. It felt like that's kind of what George was doing. It was kind of felt like, let's break this up a little bit.
Shout out to George for being comedic relief and being the guy who always he reads the room very well. And this is exactly what that was. And it also kind of spins a little bit of the narrative that I'm sure he's heard of. Well, yeah, absolutely, Jesse, 100%. 100%, Jesse. But I think it spins a little bit off the narrative that George doesn't like Trey and he loves Jimmy and everything. So I think George is playing into that too. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And yeah, sour ghost bread. I love it, man. That's exactly it.
We're about to put it on a shirt.
That's it.
Oh my goodness. All right. So anything else regarding kind of like the Deebo Samuel situation you wanted to touch on? Anything else? Any lasting points or things you wanted to mention about the contract, the drama, that potential outcome down the line? Anything?
No, I think we're at a spot where I think I know well, not that I know, feel strongly that this will get done. So I mean, it's not that I'm trying to dismiss anyone's concerns. Again, the main thing is that everyone's still a little bit burned with the Buckner thing, but
Oh yeah.
that's just one situation. I don't think that absolutely, when you look at the other ones that get done, Warner, Kittle, I think it does get done. So yeah, and again, if it doesn't happen by draft day, then it's just going to turn into a full-on negotiation at that point, because there's no way that you trade Deebo Samuel for next year's first rounder. I want your first rounder this year, if God forbid that was what's being discussed, and that's it. So
What, like, again, pure hypothetical,
mm-hmm.
what would that trade compensation look like for the 49ers to get that deal done and not get absolutely demolished
This
by
is
their own fan
how
base?
this is how highly I think of Deebo Samuel. I am going to give you assets to get back that are completely impossible. I want the Jets to send 4 and 10,
Yes.
and
I think that's reasonable.
yeah, send me 4 and 10, and send me your second rounder. How about that? We are going to completely pillage you, right? Okay. So at 4, at 10, you
And
get
give us Elijah Moore.
you get Garrett Wilson, and you might get Sauce. That's the only way I could do it. And that's so impossible. The Jets would be out of their mind if they did something like that.
Hey, that's what it would take, though. I think it would have to be an outlandish haul.
Right.
Like, what did Tyreek get moved for? He got moved for a pretty decent haul. And I wasn't too tapped into the Chiefs fan base. I don't know if they were super upset or not, but it feels like the deal was kind of in the realm of like, oh, we got a lot back, or decent amount back for an aging wide receiver who's like, what, 3 years older than Deebo, I think.
That's aging.
Yeah, aging. So I agree. If it's going to be a situation where the Jets have struck out every step of the way and they just swoop in and they're like, we'll give you both our top 10 picks. We'll give you Elijah Moore. We'll give you this. We'll give you that. And we'll pay Deebo. I think the 49ers would think about that like pretty seriously.
Man, that's the only way, though. And that's why you have to ask for a ridiculous haul, because that's how highly I think of Deebo Samuel.
I agree. And if you trade him for anything less, I think if you trade him for one first rounder, kind of like the Deebo situation, all hell is breaking loose around here. No, he's too much of a fan favorite. He carried the 49ers offense into the NFC Championship game last year. Like, I think this fan base would lose it.
4 and 10. We got to be able to we got to be able to grab 2 cornerstones because you want to take this cornerstone. Sorry.
Yeah. Drop it in the chat, though. I see you guys talking about it. Would you rather pay Deebo or would you rather take a massive haul? Let's see what you guys have to say. But, I mean, this situation is going to be ongoing. Again, I think we've kind of both agreed that the draft is the next target point. You're going to be at the draft, aren't you? Talk to me a little bit about you being at the draft, credentialed at the draft.
Yes, that is true.
Let's go. Talk to me a little bit about the upcoming draft that you will be covering as a credentialed media member.
Well, I want to make sure that I preface everything that I'm about to say with there is going to be nothing but work. There will be no partying in Vegas. There will be no acting up in any way. When I tell you that this man is walking in this man's walking into Vegas like the guys walking into the NBA where they're wearing a suit. They've got their headphones on, they've got their sunglasses on, and they're walking right through that tunnel. That's it. That's it, man. Play the music, and that's gonna be me in Vegas the entire time working. But I'm glad that's a perfect segue, Brad. You're so good at this. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about is I partnered with a company called Winnow to do something that's exclusive. Okay, so you've heard Brad and I speak about the combine and about things that we heard, right? We had heard people saying Carson Wentz was cooked the entire week, and we're talking to people, right? And Brad had conversations with players and general managers and head coaches. Well, if you sign up for exclusive content through me, I'm going to start talking about that stuff with you guys as opposed to putting it on Twitter, because people on Twitter hate it when you know something that nobody else knows, right? So that's why you never put
what do you know?
Right.
Tell us.
Source, who told you? Well, yeah,
Me,
this front office guy from Minnesota just told me, but you can't outsort those things. So there's going to be a little bit more exclusive content, especially when I'm in Vegas. I'll be able to, it's basically the quickest way to DM me and send me something while I'll be sending out exclusive things that will not be on Twitter. Sure, I'll post things on Twitter. Things are going to be cool, but the really juicy stuff that is not the stuff that I'm going to be talking about on Twitter will be there. You see the link below. Make sure that you guys sign up. It's a 3-day free trial, so you can figure it out. I just started it today, and then we'll be sending out some exclusive content. And then, from there, you guys pick what payment plan you want. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that. That's something that I'm really excited about and something that I can't wait to do, because I have all these good little nuggets and I just keep it to myself because I'm tired of people asking me like, well, how do you know? I don't need to explain it to you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to continue to question us and our access and the things that we know. But hey, we locked in, baby. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, make sure you hit this link below. Get that access to Jason and kind of the stuff that he's getting behind the scenes. Because as he mentioned, bro, when we were in Indianapolis for the combine, you could literally walk up to a head coach, a general manager, a player, a prospect, and just chop it up with them. And they're engaging in conversation back with you. So, and they're telling you things with their opinions and everything. Like we had Maurice Jones-Drew just completely drop the guard and tell us everything he thought about certain players on our team. And so it's just beautiful to kind of get that access, which Jason will have for the upcoming draft. Make sure you tap in on the link below, get into that action.
And Brad, remember, this is another funny part. Like it was the worst kept secret about Carson Wentz that entire time in the combine. You know, it was the other worst kept secret, and we kept hearing it. It didn't matter what coach, what personnel person we spoke to. Mitchell Trubisky, for some reason, was the darling of the combine. You would have thought that he was there competing. I don't know how many people kept mentioning the fact that people are big on Mitch. They're looking to see him go, and they want to see him go into this year. And it was even one of his former coaches that spoke to Jordan and said he's going to have the last laugh coming up, like, because he has grown that much. Like, it was this weird buzz around Mitchell Trubisky the entire time, and it didn't matter what piece of a person that you spoke to from any organization, they all felt that same way. So it's so crazy how things like are just spoken about in that way because it's a little bit more confined. So that's the type of stuff that we'll be talking about.
And then Steelers decided, you know what? Screw Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was
just go get Mitch.
Steelers said, you know what? Why send a pick when we can get a guy who's a little bit more mobile and probably operate this the same way? Right. Yeah. And
no lengthy injury history.
But don't get it twisted. The Steelers aren't just like waving the white flag on the season. They looked at that option, and he was somebody that everybody was talking about as like some sort of like revenge campaign. And it was wild to me because I hadn't seen anything because he didn't even play in Buffalo. So it was one of his former coaches in Buffalo who saw him progress, and they felt that way.
Absolutely. Niner Gang Podcast says #pay Deebo.
Yes,
I agree. Drop a #pay Deebo Samuel if you agree that the 49ers need to get a deal done. Neither Jason or I are advocating for Deebo to get traded. No. We want Deebo to be a forever Niner. This dude's different. Deebo's different, right? This is just a different animal. You can't find Deebo in the next draft like the NFL Network is trying to find, right?
I mean, when we were doing interviews at the combine, what was everybody talking about? Why was Deebo's name just being every time there was a prospect? They were like, "Well, they do something like Deebo Samuel."
They're thirsty for that next Deebo Samuel,
right? Aren't you looking for Deebo Samuel? Like Mike McDaniel had to come out, and I thought that was one of the best quotes that kind of got swept under the rug. Is we didn't find Deebo looking for Deebo. He was like, "That's how different he is." He was like, "So you can try to utilize guys in certain ways, but there's certain guys that are different. So why would the 49ers trade somebody who the entire league has been looking to duplicate since he stormed onto the scene in 2019 later on in the year?"
Absolutely. #pay Deebo Samuel, 49er for life. We need it. We want it. Hopefully this is just, a minor speed bump in the overall contract negotiation. Obviously, it's becoming a lot more public. And I think Deebo's starting to realize what happens when you make things public is that it's not all going to be positive. Because before he went public with the scrubbing, I would say 98% of anything you heard anyone say on any social, any podcast, anything about Deebo Samuel was positive.
Yep.
But the second he scrubbed the team, you're messing with people again. People then have to do I stick with Deebo or do I stick with the team that I've been supporting for 20 years? You then all of a sudden see how a large portion of the fan base does not think like you and I, does not hold players into that regard where we want to see them get paid, whether it's with this team or another team. They don't. Yeah. It's either you're for this team or I excommunicate you from my life. And so I think Deebo Samuel's kind of seeing how when you make those drastic moves, you're going to get that energy in return, and it's kind of reciprocating. And again, it might be a small majority, but they squawk the loudest. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Kat wants to know, there was a letter that was circulating on Twitter from Jed York to Jason Aponte.
Oh my God, man.
And I'm going to tell you real quickly. I saw it when you sent it to me and I read it and I was like, is this real? I was like, Jed's writing Jason Aponte a letter. Oh my goodness, Jason. What is going on?
Well, first of all, it's not real. And for the people who know what I was doing, I was parodying another tweet that had been sent. And I'm not going to give this person air. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you should ask somebody who does, because I'm not going to say this man's name on here or anything like that. But it's a complete 100% parody. And I got so many messages from people like, your address is on there. What I want you guys to do is look at that tweet, type that address in, and then tell me if I live on the Joker stairs.
Is that what the address was to?
That's what the address was to.
Wow.
Shout out to Kyle for making that. He made that very quickly. But yes, we're
repping today, baby. Look right behind your shoulder. We're ready.
But the address on there is the Joker stairs, and that is not real. I haven't been writing Jed York any letters. I don't care that much. How can I literally sit up here and tell you about unhinged behavior and literally have that be real? Come on, guys. I thought the joke was pretty obvious. Many people got it. Many people didn't. They swear that was something that actually happened. But no, it's not real. And I implore you guys to look up the tweet that I am parodying. It's under that tweet, and you can see exactly what I was doing because it's so hilarious. I'm sorry. I could not resist.
I had no idea it was a parody. Yeah. You sent me that, and I was like, did Jed really write you a letter?
No, the people who knew with check marks, they all DM me and they were like, yo, you're a fool, yo. I can't believe it. And I was just like, hey, man, I was like, somebody had to do it. It was just too easy. I felt like it was the lowest hanging fruit. But yes, there are people that really believe that's real. It's not. It is parodying another tweet that has similar sentiments, and I implore you guys to look that up, which is somewhere under the tweet. You'll see the screenshot.
And once you make the connection of like what Jason's parodying,
it makes it that much better.
I died. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my freaking life. It was absolutely amazing. It was hilarious. Good stuff, man. I missed you, Jason. It's been a while. We have, you and I both got a lot of stuff going on crazy in our lives, things moving around, things going all over the place. But anything else that we wanted to get to today, that we want to talk about, maybe something that I missed while I was away? Any feelings you have about the draft coming up, prospects you want to look at, anything that you have for us moving forward?
Well, the Mike McGlinchey thing, I felt like I was more concerned about the Deebo thing. I was more concerned about that than the Deebo thing because of how much you need those bookends, and Mike running, that's a good first step. That's fine. That's just run, right? I'm still going to need to see it. And I think the thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around is this injury that was a little bit more severe than people let on, right? There's a 50-50 chance of him coming back. Now, getting on the field is a milestone, but getting on the field and playing well should be the goal. And who knows if that's going to happen right away. But it's a good first step because I was much more worried about that. And if Mike's ready to go week 1 and the 49ers believe that, then that's good because it gives the 49ers such flexibility to do whatever they want in this draft at 61 if they stay there. And I think it puts them in a better spot to trade up more than anything. Because if you identify a guy that you need, now you're starting to play with like luxury picks and you can really solidify this team. So again, I love that step. I've been more worried about Mike McGlinchey. That's why I asked that question at the combine. That's why I've been asking, like, what's the timeline? What's going on? Because no matter what you guys think about pass pro, and we've said it's overblown, but run game, the 49ers run the ball to the left end and the right end at the best yards per average and then any other spot. You need Trent Williams and you need Mike McGlinchey to be effective for that to work.
Absolutely. I was extremely happy to see it because, we've heard the speculation. We've heard, it's just when you don't know, your mind can go to dark place. It can trickle into places that maybe you wouldn't want it to. And so when he posted that, and from my kind of evaluation of watching it, it was really good to see him running. But I loved all the other functional movement. I loved the hang cleans, the jumping, the way he was squatting. To me, because I understand as an offensive lineman, you have to be flexible. You have to have, the ability in your hips to drop them down. You have to bend. And with a quad tear or whatever he was going through, to me, that felt like the main thing that would be affected is, running in long distance. That's cool and all, but I want to see his bend. I want to see the way his balance is and the way he can move from a kind of functional offensive lineman standpoint. And he sent some of that out. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like, because I feel much better. I feel much, much better. And like you said, I think it gives them a lot more flexibility heading into the draft. They added Teray
Love
yesterday.
that. Love
Uh,
that.
awesome signing on a 1-year deal.
Amazing depth.
They have seemingly picked and added, whether it's Charvarius Ward or these 1-year deals for guys, it feels like they filled a lot of holes, which kind of gives them flexibility heading into the draft, right? When we're now like maybe at 61, there is flexibility to trade up and take best player available based on how they see fit or waiting to see who falls. It just feels like, and it feels like the 49ers do this. They did this last year. It feels like they fill each individual need with kind of back end 1-year players that they have kind of to chill there. But then it gives them a little bit more flexibility to go attack who they actually want.
Yeah, and when you look at this line, I mean, who's going to argue with the 49ers' success of betting on trades and Chris Kosuric at this point? And again, this is a guy who had 5.5 sacks last year. That's one more than Samson Ebukam had last year. And again, when you're talking about a rotation, nothing is better than fresh legs. And when you've got guys who can continuously come off the edge faster and faster, especially when the game gets down the line and guys have been out there for a while blocking, that's the way the 49ers are going to win games. So again, you may not like the splashy name. I mean, like no splashy moves. You may not like the names. They may not jump out at you. But as of right now, the 49ers have addressed their one group that they had felt was the worst, special teams. They've got 3 guys right now they feel like they can return punts. And they've also gotten better on coverage, which they were the worst in terms of returning. Well, they were one of the worst teams there. I believe they're 20th in the league in punt per return and 28th on kickoff per return. That's not good, near the bottom of the league. So they're strengthening the one unit that needed help. Now the defense is starting to shape more into form, and they'll probably be addressing that with their first pick, I would guess. And now you can go ahead and be flexible, and now you can just add premium guys later on when you start to find out about how this cap situation is going to go, because there's still a lot of impact players out there that aren't necessarily being thrown at right now. So again, 49ers are in a good spot, man. You can't really argue with the results at this point.
No, you can't. I like it. I mean, honestly, we understand that Jimmy Garoppolo's on the roster. He's taking up the cap space, and so maybe that has maybe hindered them in getting additional big time free agent or whatnot. But regardless of that, they have filled those holes, and it does feel like they have set themselves up for not being able to tip their hand in any which way or the other to any other teams who are maybe drafting in front of them or drafting behind them, gauging teams who want to trade up above them. So it does kind of feel like they have this flexibility to go and get a couple guys all over the place. Do you think the 49ers stay at 61 or they ultimately trade up or trade back? Do you think there's movement or they stay pat at 61?
I hope they trade up. I mean, if they can identify a guy and go get him, like if Arnold Ebiketie slides, this is, I mean, you need Ebiketie to slide and you have to trade
Yeah,
up. And again, I think for certain people thinking about like where you can trade up, I don't think that many spots are feasible when you look at what the 49ers can offer, unless, because they obviously don't even have a first round pick for next year or anything like that. You wouldn't do that unless you're making a move very high up. But realistically, the 49ers can move up maybe 8 spots, at the
right.
most. So again, you for somebody like that to drop, there would have to be something that is happening. I guess people are just prioritizing team needs, or maybe somebody has a red flag out there or something like that about him. But for that, it just would have to depend on what player falls and who they identified at that point. But they are in much better position to move up. So if they identify a guy, I think that they're in a spot where they can get a little bit more aggressive because of the holes that they filled in free agency.
Do they go running back at 61, Jason?
If they don't go Matt Araiza at 61, man, it's a complete waste. I mean, if we're going to invest, let's invest in the guy who has 70-yard punts and he has a cool nickname. Like, do this right. Let's get this franchise punter. But you just always have to remember he has to sit for 1 year.
I feel like in about 10 years from now, when Jason and I are doing State of the Franchise as gray-haired old men, we're going to still be talking about Javonte Williams. We're still going to be talking about
Terry, don't even say it. Don't even say it. You know what I just realized too? Back to the tweet about the letter.
I had to. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I whatever. I got you about the missed calls and stuff like that, and you did, so that's fine. Look, this is your tip on how that letter from Jed York was wrong. What was the book name that I sent him?
Why something about kicking.
Yeah, why kickers always matter or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, there's no way Jason did this. I'm like, but you got me, bro. I was like, what the hell?
That should have been your first tip that letter was bogus, because I would never write that book ever.
Oh my God. I'm like, Jason wrote a letter?
I wrote a book?
So out of character.
For you guys who took it seriously, for you to think that I could actually write a book, you're really overestimating me, man. I promise you, you're overestimating me in a big way.
Jason can do whatever he puts his mind to.
Maybe. Not that.
Oh my goodness. I had saw someone asking earlier about where to get the hats. You can go to residency.com. Use the promo code the SF Niners if you want to get the residency hat. But my goodness, Jason, it just feels like it's going to be an ongoing situation with the Deebo Samuel, the 49ers negotiation, clearly up until the draft. But it should take longer than that. But it really does feel like the draft is going to be a huge domino of kind of telling the future, right, of what's going to happen. So are you going to be prepared at the draft in Las Vegas if anything were to go down and go? Dude, that would be wild. Are you going to be going live from the
media
draft?
workroom? Yeah.
Nice.
So, got my fingers crossed that we can get a little bit more access. We're still trying to wait on that, but yeah, that's one of the things when you apply for the credential and they ask you, like, they're like, is there a chance that you want to go live? That's the question from the media workroom, and you got to put yes. So yeah, man. But in the case that in the unlikely case that Deebo has moved on draft day, yeah, you'll hear a story about someone in the media workroom passing out and just being unconscious from just fainting. And that would, if you were betting on who that person would be, odds are it's probably me.
Oh, could you imagine Spicy Aponte on like live from the NFL draft? Oh my goodness! Like,
I don't want to mention. I don't
out the ears.
I don't want to think that. I don't want to think that at all, man. But yeah, Brian, that's the best part. That's the part that I thought would include everybody in that was fake. My book would not be called "Why Kickers Always Matter" or whatever it was called. Like, no, wait. I think what is it? Why Kickers Matter No Matter What? Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
Why you draft a punter in the 3rd round no matter what?
Matter what? Yeah, it's Matt Araiza no matter what. Last year was Justin Fields no matter what. Now it's this, right?
Yeah, man. So it's going to be quite the ride. Obviously, a lot to still happen. We're not even close to a resolution point, I don't think. Do you think like since Deebo has done what he's done publicly that somehow moved the needle closer? Do you think there's been any type of like, oh, let's come together and kind of make this go away? Or is it just more of like the 49ers are like, now, okay, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do.
No, look, guys, here's some good advice for you. Settle in. This is going to take a while. And we're in April right now. I don't
We're in
suspect
April,
anything,
Jason.
right? I don't suspect anything until, God, I don't even want to say these words.
Say it.
June, July.
Dude, it's August for me.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And look, and camp starts at the end of July into like the first week of August. So that's where you kind of gotta like, you really, that's really when you start to get into the danger portion of it. Like if he's not there for that, then there's a real chance that things haven't gone well at all, and he's really thinking about sitting out, and that's the scary part.
Yeah. So obviously, you and I, it's not going to be the last time we talk about this.
Nope.
We're going to continue to see more and more things that come out about Deebo Samuel and about the 49ers contract negotiation. Again, it doesn't appear to be in a great spot, but who knows what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe they are moving closer towards the contract negotiation. Maybe they're moving further apart. We don't really know. We're speculating until then. So we'll have to wait and see. Anything, Jason, that you want to plug before we get out of here? Any accounts to follow, where to find more of your work? I'll pull up the where you guys can sign up to get more insight from Jason Aponte live at the draft. Anything else you got to plug, Jason?
No, so just make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Brad's channel, like this video on his as well. Join the Spicy Squad. We're doing a call-in show tomorrow, so you guys can call in. Those are the only people that are allowed to call in, members only. So make sure you do that, and we'll talk about whatever you want. One thing that I did want to say is this new Winnow app, it's really great, and it's basically going to be like exclusive content, Twitter stuff that I'm just going to be sending out in a text message. You guys can reply. We'll talk back in real time, all of those type of things. It's a great app. It's something that I'm really excited about, and I can't wait to get the content out to you guys. And this was, as much as I felt the discussion has been a bit overblown, one of the more enjoyable episodes, Brad, because we didn't mention one person's name this entire episode, I don't believe, and that is truly impressive. Don't say his name either. Oh. We're going to end the stream on that with never saying it, and I am so happy.
It feels fresh. Like even though it's a very nuanced topic that we're talking about with a lot of emotions attached, it feels fresh. Still feels light. Feels like it's not something we've said repackaged in 4 million different ways. So
thank you,
and hopefully we keep that rolling. Hopefully, because I think we've exhausted all of it. So until something new comes, we are focused on the future with Trey Lance running the show.
Send this video to Nick Bosa and let him know to scrub all 49ers stuff off his Instagram, so we have something else to talk about for just a little bit longer.
Oh, that will keep the content moving.
Yes.
So it's gonna be an ongoing. It feels kind of like a reality show at this point with the offseason for the San Francisco 49ers. But hey, the show must go on no matter what. And guess what? Jason and I will be here to cover it all with daily lives, daily content. Make sure you're following Jason right here on Twitter, YouTube, anywhere. Jason's got content on his platforms. You can find me at the SF Niners pretty much anywhere. Oh, they're trying to get us to talk about it. They're trying to get us to talk about it.
Thank you,
Shout out John B. Says thank you, fellas, as always.
Don't click. I mean, click on it, but I'm just gonna close my eyes. If I don't see it and don't say it, it doesn't count.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna close my eyes too. I'm just gonna pull it up, and we're gonna warn you. If you don't want that energy, close your eyes too. We're closing our eyes. I'm pulling it up on 1, 2, 3. All right, and we're gonna let it ride for about 2 seconds. Okay, and it's gone.
Thank you for the donation, BNA, and you know exactly what you're doing too, man. Shout out to him, man. You know what's funny is we talk about our fans being the smartest, and they are, right? Anybody who watches, but we have so many severely talented fans and people who watch our shows, like BNA, and I implore you guys to follow him on Instagram so you can check out how talented he is. Shout out to him and so many others who do other things outside of create content, right? Like it's just we have such talented viewers, man. I promise you, man. But yeah, you know exactly what you're doing.
He knows exactly what he's doing, and all our people do. That's why we love him. So again, follow us if you aren't already. We will see you guys next week to talk more 49ers football. You guys have a great weekend. Appreciate everyone tapping in with us. And as you know, we'll be back next week. Shout out to